Shawn, walk us through the economic relationship between Russia and China and how China pivots, if at all, given this war of Russia on Ukraine.
Yeah, look, it's been really interesting. We saw in the lead up to the war in Ukraine, we saw Vladimir Putin go to Beijing for the opening ceremony of the Winter Olympics. We saw Xi Jinping really embrace Vladimir Putin and Russia and the strategic alliance with Russia at that time. And now, if just a few weeks on, that looks like it may have been a real strategic blunder for China. That's certainly the view of some folks here in Washington.
Yeah. No limits friendship was what it was said. Are there limitations now or does it actually fast forward a relationship unwinding that we'd seen, between when Trump was in power and you saw that shredding of relationships between China and the US. Now, as Xi Jinping looks on at the isolation that's currently of Putin, how much does it make him want to ensure that he doesn't get blocked off from dollar's dominance or indeed has some sort of buffer to dollar's dominance?
Yeah, look, the really interesting thing is the most important economic relationship in the world today is still the relationship between the U.S. and China. And that is going to color anything that China does in relation to when it's dealing with Russia and its relationship there. So it really has to think about this possibility of being cut off from the U.S., from the rest of the global economy. It would look at these measures that the U.S., Europe, UK have taken against Russia and say, Jesus, that's a potentially worrying sign and a sign that maybe we should be speeding up the setting up of our alternatives to that. And the reality is China has been at this for a long time and it hasn't gotten very far. The renminbi, the Chinese currency, now accounts for roughly 3% of global payments. The US dollar is by far still the primary global reserve currency, and that is not going to change anytime soon. So China has a tough choice here in terms, just because of how intertwined with the rest of the global economy, its own economy.
So based off that then, when you hear people start to talk about this idea that, the global economy could be split up into sort of more regional blocks, with China maybe anchoring one over there in the east, is that just kind of a pipe dream? Is that just not really in the cards, at least economically speaking, for China?
Oh, look, I think it's definitely in the cards. And I think this week there's a lot of people who believe that trajectory is accelerating, that we're moving towards a more divided world. But at the same time, what we're seeing this week is the reality that China doesn't have all the cards here. And I think there was a view over the last few years that China really was in a fairly strong position simply because it was growing as a share of global GDP. Well, the reality is we've learned this week that America still has a lot of power because of its control of the financial architecture in the world, and it can turn the switch off fairly quickly.